And there we are. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the VlogCast. A VlogCast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This VlogCast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect, when some people on Facebook said, we are just posting stuff because we find it fun and interesting and entertaining. It doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be factual. We're just having fun. So take your stupid logic and skepticism and just get the hell out of here. Yeah, saying stuff like that never worked with me. Part of the reason for doing this vlogcast was not just for that, but also to follow up on the old adage of sometimes the journey is far more important than the destination. I am known as Shujin Tribble all over the world, all over the net. I was born into an Italian Roman Catholic family in Brooklyn, New York, raised on Long Island, and currently live outside of Buffalo, New York, and am an unabashed atheist. Joining me tonight, well, this is going to be a short one, it possibly be. Joining me tonight is Unrenowned Tech.
Hello, and joining me tonight is my minion.
Hello, Minion.
Goodbye, minion. I just figured I'd start off the show with a Ray William Johnson reference.
Just kind of throw that one in there, eh?
Well, you know, he throws the baby. I don't have a baby. I have a minion. You know, they're both light, small, and quite annoying. You just throw them against a wall.
Get your intro in here.
All right. I'm known as Unrenowned Tech. I was born in Maryland, raised in New York, moved back to Maryland. Not sure why. I was born into a mixed household for religious background. And I was raised Jewish, although not Orthodox and not strict. I later transitioned to a born-again Christian, studied several other religions, and then as time went by, just slowly realized that, no, I don't believe in any of this crap anymore.
So, welcome everyone. This is July 27, 2014, and this is episode 1/4. Done pretty good for ourselves so far. Tonight we're going to be talking about people we would look up to, people that we admire, people we respect, why we would do so, and on top of that, why does it even matter? Since tonight we have a short list of folks, and I'm not quite sure where the hell everybody is, we're going to kind of open it up a little bit for folks to get in contact with us. So, if you would like to send a voicemail message, please, by all means, take advantage of it. The phone number, as you see on the screen there, is area code 959-HCTV for Holy Crap, the Vlogcast, 554. Or if you want that in all numbers, I've got it over here. It's 859-4288-554. Believe it or not, there is actually reasons for most of the numbers, but we'll talk about that another time. We're also going to kind of open it up for folks. So if you would like to be on the panel tonight, we can certainly see about having that. Normally we would have Witchy, Dallin, sometimes Joe. We have a couple of things going on, and I'm not going to go too far into it all. Witchy is busy working on relocation. Dallin's probably drunk off his ass, which would not surprise me in the least. And Joe is unfortunately out of town on an emergency an emergency situation. Our hearts and minds go out to all of you guys. Just hoping that you're safe, and just know full well that we're thinking of you guys. So, as kind of become the norm, I start off the night with a little something that's a little outside of it all. And sometimes it's something that pisses me off. Sometimes it's something good. This is a moment that really, really pissed me off. And it kind of almost fell into my lap. I hold in my hand a business card. Now, what you're looking at on screen is, of course, the back side of it. It's all white. And there's a reason why I'm not showing you the front of this card. The little one and I, Saturday? No. I forget if it was Thursday or Friday. It was probably Friday. We went for dinner, more like a late lunch, at a local Chinese buffet. And say what you will about Chinese buffets, we hadn't had Chinese in a while, so it was like, why not? So as we're going in, this particular place has an entry foyer where folks can sit and, wait for a table to become available. And one of the things that was weird about this is that they've got some chairs in there. Well, they've got a couple of bench seats. But in this particular case, I saw something that should not have been there as we were walking in. And one of the items was this business card. Now again, I'm not going to show you the other side of it because, well, this business card was not what I saw first. What I did see, however, was a stack of these. Religion or Christ, what's the difference? From Discovery Series. And apparently, according to this, it's from the RBC Ministries in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, at first, I'm looking at these and I'm thinking this is probably from the Jehovah's Witnesses. This is something to do with the, why not believe in what we tell you to? And looking at the name, I did a little bit of hunting, very, very little. I really didn't come up with anything that was, out of the ordinary as far as to who might have produced these, what denomination, what sect. And then I got to reading the business card. Now, the reason why I'm not reading the business card itself is because the name and who it is that's listed on them may not be the person that's involved with having dropped these off. So, to give the benefit of the doubt, although I think it's very highly likely, I'm not going to go ahead and say who it was that went ahead and left these in there. However, the point of the matter is the address on here includes the word Baptist in several different locations on this business card, which means very likely whatever group is involved with leaving this pamphlet in particular is probably some Baptist offshoot of some kind. I think it's a pretty good bet right about there. So here's my thing. If you want to go out and you want to tell people to come join your church, I'm all for that. By all means, feel free to go ahead and do that. Stand on the sidewalk in front of a shopping mall and yell to your heart's content. Get yourself a bullhorn, and so long as the police don't come down and tell you you've got a noise ordinance against you, have at it. But if you're going to leave these pamphlets full of crap in somebody's private establishment, that's where I got a problem. Because I can almost guarantee you these were not authorized by the people who run the establishment. The people who are... Well, that's not really good. Oh, that's why. I'm sorry, my screen was dimming and I didn't realize I hadn't been touching it yet. My screensaver was starting. If you want to go ahead and you want to tell people to join your group, fine, have at it. But being breaking Wheaton's rule and being a dick about it and hiding it so that the people that own the property don't even know that you were doing this, truthfully, that's a dick move. And I don't care who you are. You could be a Baptist group, you could be a Scientologist group, you could be an atheist group. Leaving your shit on somebody else's doorstep without even having the nicety to say, excuse me, we would like to, that's a dick move. Nobody, but nobody should be doing that. I don't care who the hell you are or what kind of affiliation you're doing it for, even if it's for a school event. You don't do that. It's called common courtesy. It's called respect. Have a little bit of it, would you? And by the way, I will see about reviewing this on a later show. Not tonight, because I didn't have the chance to. But
Can I ask you a question?
oh, by all means,
Don't forget, I have a tendency to love to play devil's advocate, just
oh,
because
go for it.
I'm usually okay at it. First off, did you get in touch with the proprietor of the establishment and ask if they knew that was there?
I did not. I was going to, and I thought about it, and I was just like, you know what? Nah, from the way that it was placed, considering it was in the antechamber, shall we say, and effectively hidden behind a pillar, just sitting on the couch. I was hard pressed to think that they would be, allowing something like that, because I figured if they would, it would be somewhere that would be easily noticeable by the staff and management, like across from the door that actually leads into the restaurant and the desk itself. Maybe that's just me.
Okay, well, playing devil's advocate, there is always the possibility that they did get permission to leave it there, and they may have possibly gotten permission maybe from people who work there but don't own it, or maybe they got the permission from people who own it, and maybe somebody who worked there didn't like it, so they kind of hid it. There's lots of reasons it could have been hidden the way it is, and I have to play devil's advocate on that, because when it comes to a private establishment, that's not a public property, That's not a government building. I don't have say over that. If my grocery store wants to put a nativity scene in its parking lot, that's their prerogative. I have no say in the matter. I can tell them, hey, listen, I either don't appreciate it, or I do appreciate it, or I just don't care. But that's my opinion at that point. But if my grocery store is run by my state government, some kind of specialized grocery store, and they're putting a nativity scene, yeah, I'm going to bitch about that, because they're not supposed to be doing that. It's kind of like my son's camp is county run. They don't have anything religious going on, but their shirts do say peace and love on them. And I actually kind of like that, because they're good messages. They're not tied into anything specifically, and they're encouraging to the human race.
There's that. And like I said, I've considered that possibility, and perhaps I'm making a dick move of my own by removing them, which is entirely possible. I will admit, I may be completely at fault on this one.
Right. See, now, on the other hand, pointing out that if somebody did put them there without getting the owner's permission, right? Not somebody who just works there, but the actual owner's permission, is a dick move. It's also entirely possible that they asked somebody handed it to one of the employees and asked them to ask the owner or proprietor if to put them out if they approve them, and the employee just shoved them over in a corner and said, the hell with it.
Which is entirely possible. So I will freely admit that I may have just become a hypocrite in this in the heat of the moment. Now, it's entirely possible. And even so, I'm okay with that for the moment, not because I think it's okay for me to be a hypocrite, but because I think it's okay for me to say, you know what, I may have just fucked up, and I may owe somebody an apology. And yes, I do feel entirely like Agent J right about now. I think that, some shit was about to go down.
Give that man some ice!
Yep. Or do I owe the little girl an apology?
On the same note, I spend the end of my day reflecting on my actions and statements for the day and my reactions, and there are many days where I find myself kicking myself in the head with the back of my foot going, why the hell did you do that, you stupid idiot? Yep. And I try to learn from it. And it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it hurts, it smarts. But we learn, we live, we move on.
Exactly so. All right, now, we are going to go ahead and talk about our topic in just a couple of moments. However, as a reminder, if you are watching the show and you would like to chime in one way or another, if you'd like to send a voicemail, please feel free. The phone number is there on the screen for you. And we do have a short staff at the moment, so if you would like to consider joining us on air, please send me an email or grab me over on G+. Shujin Tribble, all one word, at gmail.com, or just find me under G+, and send a message and say, hey, I'd like to be on Holy Crap with you guys for a little bit. And just remember, you will need a webcam and a microphone in order to chat with us, but we can see what we can do about that.
And just remember, folks, the more of you that come on the show, the less I get to talk.
And that's always a good thing. Speaking of talking, by the way, I did change over my hard drive on the computer, which now puts me from Ubuntu 12, whatever it was, up to Ubuntu 14. Fresh, clean install, which means it's specifically tuned and such for the computer right now. So, Tech, I don't get any audio feedback from the system, so you tell me. How is my audio sounding now? Is it still got that raspy thing to it?
That little scratching noise? Yes.
Yeah.
Still there.
All right. So it may be. I don't know. I'll have to see what I can find out about that afterwards. All right.
It almost sounds like like when you play a speaker, and the speaker's membrane is starting to not be as fitted. The glue, maybe the adhesive's going a little bit, or maybe there's a slight tear in the plastic. It's starting to go a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if it's got something to do with Pulse Audio. I think that may be part of it, simply because Pulse Audio. I kind of wonder about the rationale for it sometimes, but I'm
I also like the fact that it's about a half-second delayed response to the sound. So I can hear the words start coming out of your mouth and hear it out on my speakers, and then like a half-second later, the scratch starts. And a half-second after you stop speaking, the rasp stops. So there's actual delay there.
Like I said, that's kind of part of the reason why I'm kind of wondering if it's Pulse not playing nice. We'll have to try to investigate it a little bit further.
Have you tried just going for your settings for Pulse? Have you tried just like doing a complete baseline start over from scratch on the settings and record and see what happens?
Oh, well, as a matter of fact, this kind of is. This is a complete
No, I meant like all the little settings for, like this frequency here, boost this, move this down, move this one up. Just baseline those all to 0 and see what happens.
There really isn't anything quite like that, to the best of my recollection.
There's no equalizer or mixer or anything?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have to go hunting a little bit better. If you're watching this, if you happen to be a bit of an Ubuntu specialist, by all means, please let me know. Send an email over to me. The version of Ubuntu that I'm running with right now, like I said, is 14.04 long term, because that's the most recent one at this point in the game. Some of this may have to do with my having dumped everything from the old hard drive, also from my home directory. So there may be some sound settings that are screwed a little bit over there. We'll have to check on that. And the computer that I'm working with right now is an HP H as in hotel 8 1414 Envy, which is a pretty nice machine. By the way, I did get the opportunity of testing out Steam on the sucker, and XCOM, the Linux native version finally came down, installed, runs like a champ. And Left 4 Dead also runs like a champ, no problems at all. So that's kind of nice.
Well, if we're going to get on the topics of games, I would like to mention an achievement today.
Okay, real quick.
Today's achievement was that my son successfully conquered Monster Slayers, the Heroes of Hesad, which is produced by Dungeons & Dragons for those who want to introduce their children, ages 6 and up, to Dungeons & Dragons without having to have their own player's guide. It's actually downloadable right from the Wizards of the Coast website. It takes about 5 to 6 players, but we did a 2-man team, just him and I. I was playing the role of the dungeon master, but I was also playing the role of the wizard in the game, Bet, and he was playing Jorik, the warrior, and we just wiped the board together. And I played by the rules, you know. I played by how they set out the monster rules and everything else for the DM and the guide. And the only thing that really had going was the fact that I had some experience under my belt. So I knew a couple little maneuvers, but it brings up the concept of armor class, speed concept, the 1d20. That's all you really need, but you can also use a d6. It explains what those are, and then it puts in a nice little storyline. It even tells you what to say and when. And all in all, it's a really cool concept. If you're a D&D player and you have a child who's under 6 or under 12 but over 6, and they have shown some interest in the game but not the game mechanics, you know, like they want to play but they don't want to sit there and have to do the math all day, and they don't have to worry about, you know, your abilities and your feats and your skill set and your spell book and all that other crap, introduce them to this. And it's really, really cool.
Excellent.
There's even little shield awards at the end.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's kind of nice.
Very cool. Okay. And one last thing before we go, and I know it's completely off topic, and I'm sorry, but the little one and I, we spent the day with some friends out at the local, and I use the term loosely, Renaissance Festival, and the little one got her hair done, which was surprising.
She got the ribbons through it?
Sort of. This is what she ended up with.
Oh, well, Princess Leia.
Not exactly.
Close
These
enough.
are all the way on the back of her head instead of on the sides, but it was great to see. And that is what her hair started off as.
You know, Tribble got taller. The tiny Tribble got taller.
Well, yes, she's just sitting on a stump.
The last
really.
time I saw a picture of her, she was much shorter.
Wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Mm.
So there you go, little one. You get your shout out there. So we're going to
That's
talk.
pretty cool.
Yep. Like I said, we're going to talk about people that we look up to, people that we respect, that we admire, that we aspire to be as good as, and why it matters. And it's like I said, since it's just the two of us right now, if you'd like to join in on this, if you'd like to chime in one way or the other, or even be on the show at the moment, we'll kind of make a little bit of an open evening. Please, by all means, send me a message, shushandtribble@gmail.com, or get me on G+ and send me a message, and let me know that you'd like to be on right now with us this evening, and see what we can do. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up with somebody who's got an interesting point of view.
Yeah, like
And
S. Ross.
Uh,
I haven't heard from S. Ross in a long time.
That's true, and I think part of that has got to do with what ended up happening with Easter and such. But we'll have to discuss all that at a later time.
Okay.
Anyway, so the idea of talking about people who we admire, who we look up to, kind of one of those things that just happened for me. It gets real difficult to try to come up with topic ideas, and this happens to be one of those items where it just happened because there was stuff about comic books and comic characters that had popped up, and watching some of the videos on YouTube, especially with Adam and Jamie from the Mythbusters, with a web series that they've got, which escapes me at the moment. But
I like the Walrus one.
I'm sorry?
The Walrus animation, where it shows the Walrus going, "Hey, Dad," and then Heinemann then it shows a picture of Heinemann going, "Yes, son."
Haven't seen that.
The beard and the walrus teeth, the hat. It's an animated GIF.
Got it. I'll have to go looking for that a little bit later. Anyway, what caught my attention especially was that they had the opportunity, lucky stiffs, to talk to Chris Hadfield over on the International Space Station while he was still up there. And they were going to come up with a new game for the guys up there. And Chris told them about Space Darts, which was something that he designed. What they did was they took a battery for a digital camera. So it's a battery about smaller than my fist. They taped a piece of Velcro to the front, a couple of zip ties, unused, on the sides, and they fitted an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on the back of those as fletching, and you nice and gentle take this thing and boom, and let it go, and hope that you actually hit whatever the target is supposed to be. Now, the only way of doing something like this is in microgravity, because you're dealing with very slow, very gentle, because, launching heavy, pointy things in the vacuum of space on the inside of something that's supposed to keep your atmosphere in is probably not such a good idea. So the guys, Jamie and Adam, came up with the idea of making basically a ball, I'm not going to call it a sphere, a ball of duct tape with a pin through the middle, a piece of metal, what they were working with at first, and layering duct tape on the outside with like fins basically all the way around. With the idea would be that you would hold the pins between your fingers, you would blow in order to make the whole thing spin, and then gently launch it towards wherever. The idea being that with that spin, it would generate effectively lift in one direction or another, and the challenge would be to try to guide it and direct it around an obstacle to hit something on the opposite side. Kind of like a curveball being thrown from the pitcher's mound to the catcher, but just really slow. So they went through the stuff of building up their design, and they talked to Chris up there, and he's just like, yeah, you know what, we've got most of the stuff. We've got to make a couple of minor modifications, but I don't know how much it's going to work up here, but we'll give it a try for a while, and thanks for the chance. So one of the first people I'm going to think of Chris Hadfield, who was the mission commander for the International Space Station and an all-around cool guy for science, man. I mean, did you ever see some of the stuff that the videos that he did back down to the NASA and the kids? Yes, that was for you, Tech.
Oh, yeah, I saw the. He showed the water where he was what it's like to cry in space and how it sticks to your face and whatnot. Yep. He actually did a TED Talk where he talked about what he learned from going blind in space. And what had happened is that there was a cleaning material that had gotten to his eye, and his eye started to water and everything else, and then it carried over, and eventually he ended up going blind, but he not permanently blind, just blinded by the fact that he had chemicals in his eye. Mm-hmm. And he was able to go through the motions once he got past the panic. He kept to his training, he suppressed the panic, and he went through the muscle memory motions of the things that he had to do. And eventually what happened was his eyes produced enough tears that diluted the solution that had gotten to his eyes so much that he could actually see, open his eyes and see again, although it was blurry thanks to the tears. But he was able to get back inside, wipe his face, and they did a whole thing in solution to that and whatnot. But I also got to see the one where he did the static electricity along a straw, and then did a drop of water and watched the water go around like it was going around an atom.
Wow.
And it was really cool. That one's on YouTube, by the way, dude. That one I like a lot. I love watching stuff like that. But eventually, it did eventually connect to the straw, unlike an electron, which maintains depending on energy state. So yeah, stuff like that was really, really cool. But when the first person I thought about looking up to was actually two people, and that was I'm not taking an easy way out here, but really it is both my parents. I look up to my dad in terms of being able to control myself, my emotions, my anger specifically. Uh, my dad and I both have great capacity for anger, an extreme level of it. So we're constantly keeping it in check because we don't ever want it to control us. Um, and when he talks, he almost never has anything bad to say about somebody. Uh, my ex, on the other hand, but that's to be expected. Um, my mother, I look up to not for her ability to control her anger, because she does quite often lose her temper. What I do look uh, up to her for is her ability to get shit done. She is amazing in that respect. If something needs to get done, come hell or high water, and that's one of her favorite phrases, she gets things done. She's just, it might be the fact that her mother, my grandmother, wore combat boots, was a sergeant in the Army Air Corps during World War II. That might have a little something to do with it. But she's a mover and shaker. She gets things done. She doesn't take crap from anybody, especially when that person directs their crap at our family. She is extremely family-oriented, so is my father. I love them both to death. I'll do anything for them. And they are my top-notch heroes. I have other heroes for other reasons, but they are the two on the top of my list, and not because they're my parents.
Yeah, we'll definitely qualify a lot of these things that this is subjective. This is how we feel. So, there are no wrong answers here.
And see, the thing is their capacity for love of their family and their friends is, I model myself after them in that respect. I love my friends dearly. I love my family, even if I have problems with them. At the end of the day, they always are told how much I love them. And at the start of every day, they're always told how much I love them.
Good.
And that's just how I am.
Yeah, as it should be. All right. And while we're going along, it's nice to see that we've got a couple of folks who are watching this live. Thank you very kindly. If you'd like to chime in, if you'd like to ask questions or give us some observations of your own also, over here you do have the question and answer system up and running. So if you'd like to type something out, more than happy to cover that for you. As far as to, yes,
I was going to say that they can also reach us separately on Twitter. You have your Sujin Tribble on Twitter.
At Sujin Tribble, right?
Yeah, at Sujin. Well, anytime you try to reach somebody, you put the @ sign in front of their name. So at Sujin Tribble on Twitter, and I'm at unrenowned_tech. I was trying to put a space in there, but they don't like spaces, so I had to put an underscore between the two words.
Can't imagine why.
I can't imagine why.
Yep. Now, there are, like you said, we have different people that we respect and admire for different reasons, especially at different times. So, give you an idea as to, the people that I respect and admire and look up to. It's no secret of any kind whatsoever that one of my biggest is Jack Benny, who I've said is my idol, even though I have no idols. The man's work in comedy, the old-time radio era, is classic. His touch indelible. He is arguably credited with having the first meta program, because a lot of his comedy shows were about his troupe trying to produce his comedy show. Even though it was fake as all hell, it was still funny. So it was all kinds of fun that way. But Jack was amazing in a lot of different ways. He was on top of his game. His show was on top of its game for 20 years. He went from, oh God, I forget if it was CBS to NBC or NBC to CBS, and still maintained and kept strong. He is arguably credited with keeping Jell-O, the brand, from going bankrupt, because they started to promote it and Suddenly you went from every other brand and type of gelatin product to Jello is like it. Yeah, you can find gelatin products, but Jello by name is almost ubiquitous to beyond belief now. He,
It's like the Q-tip.
yes, but one of the things that I admired the most, not just because he was a humanitarian in a lot of ways, not just that he stood up for Rochester, his valet, who was performed by Eddie. Shoot,
Bang.
I forgot what his name is off the top of my head. Anyway, in real life, there was a problem where the gentleman who portrays Rochester, who is black, the entire group went to New York City in order to do a performance and recording, whatever it was, and the hotel didn't want to have Rochester there because, well, colors don't come into a place like this. And Jack was basically like, look, either he comes in and he gets a room, or none of us come in and get a room. Rochester got a room and was treated well, which was good. But one of the things that I admired the most about Jack was what happened after he died. Shortly after, his wife, Mary Livingston, started to receive a rose in the morning at her home, at her home. First one, okay, Second, third, fourth, and it just continued. And she couldn't figure out for the longest time why. Just one rose. And she was able to, months later, finally track down who it was that was putting them there at the house for her. And it turned out that secretly, behind her back, Jack had put something special into his will that Mary would receive a fresh rose every day for the rest of her life to let her know that he still loved her and how much he loved her in life. That is a level of romance, of love that I have a hard time even contemplating myself. And it's no secret how much I love my wife. Though she may not be with us anymore, I truly love her that much. So I'll throw it back your way. Now that I've gone ahead and I've screwed my own mind over.
Well, if we're going to talk about funny, there
Sure.
are plenty of comedians in all the fields that I could look at and go, hey, they made me laugh. They gave me good times and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Like Jim Carrey, although towards the shortly after his divorce, his mentality seemed to start to go, woo, either that or he was repressing it before the divorce, one of the two. Then there's then you have your stand-up comedians, Gabriel Iglesias. Man, he is a funny man.
There you go. George. Can't forget George.
George Carlin, of course.
Oh my God.
Although there were a lot of people who didn't like the fact that to protest the war, he kind of draft dodged. There's a lot of people who didn't like stuff like that.
Okay.
And I can understand why they did stuff like that, especially like in my father's case. He didn't draft dodge. He failed the physical. And he had a hole in his ear, and back then they didn't have surgery for that. So if he went up in an unpressurized airplane, he'd go deaf.
Ooh, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah. So they flunked him out of the physical in that respect. But he ended up having buddies of his go over and die. So, when he saw, when he heard that particular people draft dodged, he lost respect for them at that point, And especially because there was always the possibility that somebody, if they had not dodged the draft going over, they might have been the one who ended up saving those lives. You can't tell what could have happened. There's too many what ifs. but if you don't take the chance, you'll never know what the what if becomes. Am I trying to advocate war? No, I think war is a very bad thing, but no, I can't judge for that time frame. But as far as his message is concerned, I heard it loud and clear from Carlin. And he made it funny in the telling, though, which was the best part. But my favorite funny man, if you will. Now, mind you, I've looked at the funny women, too.
Okay.
But there's one person above all funny people who is my top number one, and that's Weird Al Yankovic. And it's not because we're both born on the same day, October 23rd. Okay? It has nothing to do with that. It has
Nothing at
nothing
all.
to do with the fact that we have the same birthday. He hears it all year long about how many people have the same birthday as him.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is that when I was growing up, there were a lot of times I was picked on, I was belittled and demeaned and physically accosted by bullies. And I had two refuge. One, the library. Two, my Walkman portable cassette player.
That goes back.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what that is, think an iPod that actually uses magnetic tape, runs on AA batteries, cannot get the internet on it, and can only play music, and fast forwarding is a bitch. And I used to play his albums. His albums on cassette tape, on the bus ride to and from school, on the long distance trips and things like that. And he made me laugh. He made me feel good. His songs were silly, and all in all, it was just it was. I actually remember watching. I think it was either MTV or VH1 that did the life of Weird Al Yankovic. Now it wasn't too long because he's still alive, and back then he was up and coming. And, he had kind of made it already. He was at the point where the artists were saying, "Listen, you haven't really made it in the music industry unless Weird Al Yankovic has made a parody of your song."
And the funny part of it is they're still saying that.
Oh yes, they are. And anyway, it turned out that Weird Al didn't like to smoke. He didn't like to drink alcohol. But, he is a chocolate fanatic. And he was never afraid to go out in public and do silly things. He was on one of the New Year's bashes. He was on MTV. And he was flagpole sitting. For those who don't know what that is, you haven't been paying attention in history class. Go back to school. So he's flagpole sitting, and they're aiming the camera up at him, and they're asking him, they're trying to talk to him, and he just looks down and he goes, "Why can't you people just leave me alone?" And he's flipping out, and it's an act, but he's doing it so convincingly. It's fantastic. And he has that wild explosion of him, his personality. My coworker got to see him at a convention where he was actually doing a signing, which is rare. It's happened. This is the second time that I know of that he's doing a signing. Is the San Diego Comic-Con right now.
Wow.
He's on for 1 hour. You have to buy the tickets in advance for that. But he's doing a panel later on in the same day that he's doing the signing, and I think that was today, where people can just ask him any questions that they can think of, and he'll flow along with it. But my buddy saw him at one of the first ones, and now, mind you, what's really funny is Weird Al is being escorted out by security to keep the fans at bay. There's kind of a gap as he's walking by, and my buddy turns around and says, "Nice to see you, Mr. Yankovic." And he just turns around and goes, "My name is Al!"
That's my father's name.
Whatever. So, but it's one of those Weird Al things. And, it's just, I've always wanted to meet him. I don't think I'll get the chance. I might be able to get the chance to see one of his shows some point in my life, in person. I had a couple chances, but they got ruined by events outside of my control. Um, so I really do look up to him. He's actually written several children's books,
Yep.
and they went on to Audible. It's Amazon now; they bought him out. But on Audible, what's really great is not only did he let Audible put his books on tape, basically, but he did the voicing
Oh,
for all
nice.
of them. And so I bought them all, and I let my son listen to them, and my son had a blast with them. And all I could think to myself is, I was introduced to Weird Al Yankovic as a funny man, and he's getting introduced as a book author. What two different worlds we come from for the same person.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good role model. He's he loves his family. He supports his family, and I don't mean financially. I mean he emotionally and mentally and physically supports them as family members should do to each other. In one of his music videos, Word Crimes to be exact, he has the musical phrase, and you should never write words with numbers unless you're 7. That wasn't actually his line. That was one of his kids. And if you watch the video and you stop it at the right time, where the drawing is with the words with the words with the numbers in it, down in the bottom right, you can see the signature of his kid. It's fantastic.
That's beautiful.
Talk about support. That's fabulous. So I have a lot of respect for that. He doesn't go out there and say, "Oh, well, we should support this in China. We should support this in Iran. We should ban guns. We should ban drugs or whatever." He doesn't do any of that. He leads by example. He's himself. He shows that he doesn't do drugs by not doing drugs. He shows that he doesn't smoke by not smoking. He shows that he doesn't drink by not drinking. Do I think you should be, stay away from alcohol 100% of your life? Hey, that varies from person to person. But he demonstrates through his own actions what kind of person he is, rather than going around and talking all the time. He shows it. He's the kind of guy that I would. It's like Bill Murray. Okay, Bill Murray was out shooting in a video somewhere out, whether it was a movie video, I don't know what. If you look on the recent news in the last 2 days, you'll be able to pick it up. It should be on Reddit. Some guy who owns ice cream parlors heard that Bill Murray and his crew was going to be in town shooting a movie, whatever. So what he did is he invited all the people in the town to come out to his Bill Murray ice cream social. And he extended that same invitation to Bill Murray and Bill Murray's crew, not just Bill Murray, everybody. The town, the crew, and Bill Murray were offered free ice cream. Guess who shows up out of the blue? The guy didn't expect Bill Murray to show up, but he did, and he even did some photo ops with everybody.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Weird Al, I could see him doing the same thing. I could see somebody going, "Hey, I heard Weird Al's in town. Free Bologna for everybody." The song "My Bologna," and I could see, if they did something and made it globally known as like, "Hey, listen, everybody who lives in this town and Weird Al and his crew, if you want to come over to my deli, everybody gets a free Bologna roll." Or a bologna wrap, in celebration of my Bologna. Because my understanding is somebody actually did that to him once. Came out and gave him bologna.
That's almost wrong.
But it's so right.
Yeah.
It's Weird Al, and that was his up-and-coming time frame, the My Bologna stuff. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for him. I would never go fanboy on him if I ever met him, because that's just ridiculous. I would treat him like a grown adult human being entertainer, and I would thank him for his work, tell him I appreciate it deeply. I'd tell him about my son enjoying his books, and I'd ask him just to keep doing what he does.
Absolutely. And that's there are very few times when we can have higher praise than that.
Yeah, I mean, he still makes me feel good. I was having a bad day at work. What did I do? I plugged in Tacky and I started dancing around the office.
There you go, and that's a wonderful piece right there. All right, we're running a little bit long on this, so let's go ahead and hit a couple of other people. We're just going to rapid fire a couple of these people because it's easy. It's easy to understand why some of these people would be respected through ourselves or others, but we're kind of speaking subjectively. Let me start with one of the earliest ones that I had ever known about, Neil Armstrong. Back to you.
My memory's fuzzy from my childhood. I had a death in the family. It produced memory trauma for me. Death by cancer. Fuck cancer.
Really?
Yeah, really. We should put that one on Twitter. And Amish Wolverine can go fuck himself, too, while we're on it.
Wow, nice of you to go ahead and shoehorn that in there. Come on, quick, give me. Give me one.
Damn. I don't have a lot of memories before 12 anymore.
Don't need to actually know the people. I was 4 months old when the moon landing happened, which, by the way, 45 years ago this month, just a couple days ago.
You know, honestly, growing up, my biggest hero really was my dad and my mom.
Okay.
Those were my earliest heroes, and they're still there. Now, granted, as a childhood, one of my childhood heroes was Hulk Hogan.
And
I was a Hulkamaniac. What can I say?
Yeah, who the hell wasn't? I mean, not to worry about it.
But the Undertaker kicked butt too.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that.
Ooh,
You know what? That's a good place for us to pause it out at. To kind of get to the question of why do we admire these people? What's so special about them? I think now's a good time to go ahead and hit that. No, I thought that I lost you over here because there are a lot of other people that I can list off that I admire for whatever reason or other, but that we've only got a 90-minute show. So here's the question. Why would we, and I don't want to use the term revere, because that's too much, but why would we admire, why would we aspire to be the kinds of people that these people, whether they're caricatures or not, whether they're real or not, why would we aspire to what they do? So I've got my answer ready to go, but you want to take a first stab at it, Tech, or would you like me?
Well, let's see. One of the reasons why I wanted to be like my dad was because I saw how other people responded to him. I saw the look of respect, the genuine interest in what he had to say. It's just the way they treated him. And every time I learned about somebody who had met my dad, that would talk highly of him and everything else, it would just reinforce my opinion of him, of how great a man I felt and still feel him to be.
Cool.
Same with my mother. And it's just, as far as TV heroes go with Hulk Hogan, one of the things I used to love about that was all the energy that he would portray in his WrestleMania shows.
Sure.
He had a cartoon that was on there for a while. That was great. He also, he used to convey messages to the kids, though, because he knew kids were watching.
Oh, yeah.
And he would convey things. And he even did a couple movies that were sort of family-oriented and whatnot. All in all, it was a good time. It was always about, don't be the bad guy, Don't be the mean one that's mean to everybody else, that does all the wrong things and everything else. The two shows that I used to love the most were GI Joe and Hulkamania, and both of those at the end always had wonderful messages directed towards kids about not doing drugs, stay away from strangers, get an adult, don't play with firearms, don't play with matches, the whole 9 yards. And
Mhm.
those messages still hold true today. Um, so I've sat down and watched some of the cartoons lately with my son, like Adventure. Yeah, we're not watching Adventure Time anymore. That has taken some really strange twists, and that's kind of it. Sanjay and Craig is on a very borderline, whatever. Some of these shows make SpongeBob look tame in comparison.
Yeah, that's one that I've not really seen myself. So, anyway.
I could deal with SpongeBob compared to Adventure Time. Uh, Breadwinners is kind of amusing. So far, they haven't done anything that I seriously think would negatively affect them. And as an adult, I'm finding myself censoring a lot of this stuff in terms of what was I allowed to watch? Why was I allowed to watch it? And I find myself looking through my parents' eyes,
Okay.
and I realized they did a good job.
Okay, but the what it still comes down to is why do
Why?
we yeah, why do we
I think
admire
it's
the people
actually
that we do?
ingrained in our being. I think it's evolutionary. We are social people. We did talk about morals and things like that before.
Yep.
That the human brain is actually ingrained with a system, a moral system that identifies that when we help this person, that there is a probability, whether it's a high probability or slim probability, but there's still a probability that one day we may be in turn helped by this person. The more likely we are to be helped by them, the more likely we want to help them. And when we look at somebody who is receiving this kind of um, respect from other people, that they're constantly being, like in the case of my father, where they're constantly being talked up, they're constantly want to be around him, they constantly want to help if help is needed. This is a respectable person. You want to be like this. You want to receive this attention. You want to receive this kind of help. You want to be in a position just like this other person. I didn't think of it that way at this time, or at that time in my youth, but I recognize it for what it is now. And does that change my opinion of him at all? Zero. It does not make the feelings that I had any less real. It just makes me understand where they came from a little bit more. And I still have a deep love for the man. I still try to make sure that I keep control of my anger the way he does. I still try to have the compassion for other people that he does. Granted, I am much more of a pessimist than he is, but I get that from my mother's side of the family.
I can't imagine why. And you've got some really great points. I think for me, why do we look up to and admire these individuals? I think it's because I think a good portion of it is because, as has been said on many an occasion, we are our own worst enemies. We
Oh, dude, you're preaching to the choir, man. I used to beat myself up when it came time to turn in science projects, math projects, English projects, especially English projects, because I had such a hard time until my second year of junior high when my sister sat down with me and said, "What are you having trouble doing?" And I explained it to her, and she found an alternative solution, an alternate way for me to think about the problem and address it and get it out on paper. I'm seeing my son having some difficulty getting words out on paper too, so I'm wondering if he has the same problem. I'm going to have to address that with him, and I actually plan on doing that in the next couple of days because it just recently came to light. Um, I'm a much slower thinker than my sister, so that's why it takes me longer to respond. Um, but yeah, it I used to beat myself up. I might get a B on an English paper, and I'd be looking at that going, man, I just sucked at that. Why did they give me such a nice grade, Or I go into the science project, and I do this wonderful science report. I'd like it a lot. And I get an A, and I go, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. Why did I get an A, this is common knowledge, and it turns out it's not common knowledge. It's knowledge I researched, is old-fashioned library research and calling institutes and things like that. And I actually did a paper in junior high. My first year of junior high, my science teacher was asking me, "Wait a minute, what's nuclear winter? What does that have to do with anything with snow?"
Okay.
And I was talking about changes in the climate and things like that, and I went beyond that teacher's knowledge in that field, and I did it because I had the resources at my disposal and I understood them. But I still beat myself up. You know, I didn't think I was smart enough.
And like I said, I think that that's where a good portion of this. I don't want to use the term idol worship, because that's reading too far into it. But having people that we look up to, that we admire like that, a lot of people have said that that's got everything to do with finding shortcomings in yourself and finding someone who has an abundance of good in that particular thing that you're deficient in, and watching them be able to handle it and not necessarily feeling like you would be able to, or that even you should be able to. Give you a perfect example. It's possible. You know what? The analogy I was working with doesn't work. Never mind. I just saw where it was going. Not going to work there. Well, let me give you an example. For me, Jack Benny, top of his game for 20 years. Amazing editor on the shows that were going to be produced. Tons and tons and tons of people who love him, sent him emails, etc., etc., etc. Me, I don't break my back with this system. I throw a lot of it together at last minute in some cases, but I look up to a guy who was doing radio, easily 30 years before I was born, easily. And then coming forward and saying, okay, I'm going to help you learn on a chalkboard how to figure out what's funny in the script that you've worked with. And teach and help people to go through and learn, supporting the arts, being a great humanitarian. I want to be that person. I want to be able to have lots of people who take notice of me, lots of people that I can support, lots of people that I can help get along in some way, shape, or form. I look up to an ideal that I don't think that I have in myself that I wish I had. It's hard to for me to think of it any other way. What can I say? I'm weird that way.
We all have our own idiosyncrasies.
It's true.
I'm a slow thinker. I berate myself for things that I've done in the past. I don't always give myself credit where credit is due. In fact, I rarely ever give myself credit where credit is due.
I think we're all
But I have a
guilty
lot
of
of,
that.
I have a lot of my coworkers who are constantly thanking me for the work I've done, or telling me, I did a really good job on whatever project or whatever it is that we did. And I'm constantly going, well, wait a minute, that's what you guys pay me to do. Why are you thanking me? I appreciate, don't get me wrong, I definitely appreciate the thanks. I'd rather work at a job where they say thank you, rather than they don't. But
And get you a pizza. Don't forget, gotta get the pizza too.
only on my birthday. But I think it's more important to definitely say thank you when you go beyond what you're being paid to do. And a thank you during your review is definitely not out of the question. So those two kinds of thank yous, I think, are the most important kind. But the other little ones, they still make you feel a little bit better about yourself, and that can definitely help you improve your work as well. So I work with a really awesome group of people. I definitely kick myself a lot. They see me kick myself a lot. Um, so maybe that's why they're constantly saying thank you for the stuff I do.
It could be.
Yeah.
Um, the
Like I said, I'm a slow thinker. If it's taken me, I've been with the company almost 5 years, and I'm just starting to figure this shit out.
nothing wrong there. All right, so like I said, for me, it's a matter of hoping that I actually fulfill something that I don't know that I actually do, but that's okay.
Well, if you
So,
really want to fulfill something, just cut the hole just big enough.
all
Oh,
right,
wait.
moving
Never
on,
mind. I'm
moving
sorry,
on.
that's a discussion for a later date.
Yeah,
Where'd I put that
and
banana?
on the moon. There's a whole other meme. We'll talk about that one later. You're welcome.
There you go.
But so now comes the important question. Why does it even
42.
matter? No, no, no. Why does it even matter? Why should we even bother looking up to these people when in most cases they're not people that we are ever able to interact with? Now, you, Tech, I mean, for you, they're people that you specifically know, that you specifically had time with. Well, for one thing, you know full well that they exist. So why do you think it's worth having someone to look up to like that? And I know you kind of touched on, you kind of hit it, but I want to kind of do it on the official.
I'm going to give you something a little bit different.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you about how it goes both ways. My son lives in two different homes.
Right.
My home and his mother's home. His mother's home. There we go. And just had to throw that up there. And as the years have progressed, I can tell when he's emulating me or any of my immediate family or his mother. And he doesn't recognize it. He doesn't recognize when he shifts like between the two. For the most part, he is a very scratch that, start again. He has a good heart. And by that, emotionally, he can be caring and compassionate and empathetic of the people around him. That's what I define as a good heart. But there are days where that all goes out the window and it's all about him, which is just like his mother. Am I being unfair to his mother? No. No, I'm not. Not because of the way she hurt me or the way she spends money or anything like that. It's the way that she uses people around her, whether it's her own daughter from another relationship, our son, her husband, her mom, her dad, her sister. She uses people to get what she wants. If she doesn't get what she wants, she gets angry with those people. And if she gets angry with those people, she will take it out on whoever's closest. And my son has emulated those patterns. But he's also stated that, he does look up to me. And he has actually, on more than one occasion, said that he wants to be like me. And I have always said to him, Peter, don't be like me. You be yourself, but be the best you that you can possibly be.
Oh,
At the end of the day, look back on the day and see how good you were, how well you did, and then see at the start of the next day if you can do better. And he said, well, what if I have a really good day? Then I said, then strive for a better day than that really good day.
Yeah.
And he's making improvements, but you have to understand, I'm taking a whole summer to break him of the bad habits of me, 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 me. Nobody else matters. I don't care about anybody else. One of the tactics his mother uses to get what she wants is to make fun of somebody. It's an old-fashioned bully tactic, and she's very good at it. And he demonstrated that he's picked that up from her by when some kid got in trouble and was put in the timeout quarter. He made fun of that kid so much that the kid went running to the bathroom and locked himself in the bathroom. The kid's a year older than my son. There was extreme punishment involved. And by extreme, I don't mean physical violence. I mean he had everything taken away from him. I sat him down. He had to write a letter of an apology, and he wanted to know what to write. And I said, "Oh, no. I'm not going to tell you what to do, and you're going to write it down, and we're going to call it even. It doesn't work that way. I want you to think about a time that somebody said something to you, and it hurt you so bad inside that it made you cry. Has that ever happened?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you remember who it was?" "Yeah." "Well, who was it?" "Mommy." And I said, "Okay, you think about that. You think about how bad that made you feel. And then you think about what you would have liked her to have said to make that pain go away. And then you write that down." And he couldn't think of too much, so he sat there and cried for a long while. And then he finally did think of something, and he wrote down a couple sentences. I read them over. They were actually pretty good. And so we folded it all up, stuck it in an envelope, and he brought it in the next day and gave it to the gentleman. And last I heard, they still play together.
Nice.
Kids are resilient. He's been earning some of his stuff back here and there, here and there, and here and there. And like this week was like just a fabulous week. He was just doing everything right. He was doing them for the right reasons. He wasn't asking when he was going to get his stuff back anymore. He wasn't asking if he had been good enough to do something. He just kept getting better and better a little bit each day. And today, I had asked him a question. He actually said something very mature. And I just reached over and I hugged him and I gave him a kiss and I told him how much I loved him, and I said, that's very big of you, buddy. It really is. So,
Nice.
it's just, oh yeah, we're definitely going to do something special tomorrow for that. I haven't told them yet. I'm still working on what it is. Well, it's today, actually. And I think I know what I'm going to do. And I know he's going to enjoy it. But the lack of a good role model and there's nothing there to negate a negative role model. Okay? Children learn. They're biologically programmed to learn from the environment around them, and when you have a parental figure, that becomes a figure of authority, a figure of control, but also a teacher, and they're going to learn from you. So we're naturally programmed to learn from adults because they've been alive longer than we have.
Which is a good reason.
Exactly. So obviously, if we want to live longer, we're going to emulate the ones who lived the longest in most cases, except for that one guy who drank a jug of that cheap wine and had bacon sandwiches for breakfast every day of his life.
Yeah, that's not a good day right there. But
yeah, no.
there is an interesting piece. The idea of growing up with or without a role model, as the case may be. And that kind of makes me wonder about my little one. That I know full well that I am not female, not by a long shot. So there are a few things that I know full well that I can't give my daughter first-hand knowledge of. But I can try. And it's...
Have you had the talk yet?
Oh, God, yeah. A long time. Little bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah, I've been doing that for the last 2 years with my son.
Yeah. And I would like to think that she looks up to me and she admires me for a lot of the things that I've done and that I try to continue to do. And at the risk of sounding like I'm tooting my own horn, which admittedly I am, I'd like to think that I'm doing something right, something worthwhile. And I hope that maybe she ends up doing the stuff that's worthwhile because I tried to do it myself. Like I said, learning by example. So we'll see. We are...
Do we have any questions?
Unfortunately, no. And at the moment, the system says that we don't have any live viewers, which may or may not necessarily be the case.
I guess we're boring people.
It's...
I could take off my shirt.
No.
No, don't do that.
No, this has to be archived and really, no. But,
well, hey, if we're going to archive this and my son ever sees this and I'm not around, just remember, buddy, like I said before, every day, I love you.
And just because I can be a dick about it, over your right shoulder, is that your pussy back there? That
Over
one.
here? What, that black thing against the wall?
The thing that's moving, yeah.
What thing that's moving?
I thought I saw something moving all the way along the back wall back there.
This thing over here?
No. Just kind of turn around and do the other way, your other right. There you go.
There's nothing back there moving.
No. Okay, so maybe it's just me and the camera. Never mind.
Might be the shadow.
It could be. Okay, so not the first time I've been wrong tonight.
I think the whole role model thing rolls into the morals thing. It's a self-preservation mechanism. But just because we can understand what it is and give it a technical term doesn't mean that the feelings that are generated in the process are any less valuable. I know there's a lot of theists out there that say, well, listen, if you're going to reduce your morals and your feelings to scientific terminology, then it's not worth living. It's like, bullshit. Just because I can understand what's going on, just because I understand that love is a chemical process in my brain, doesn't mean that I don't value it. I value it greatly. The love I felt for my ex when we were together, despite the chemical processes and everything else, was extremely valuable for me. I learned how my true the beginnings of my true capacity for love. And then when all hell broke loose, when she started pulling my family apart, I learned that the love could be stretched and changed and manipulated, and that it could also be reinforced, for my son and my family and my friends that were there for me and everything else. Just because that's all chemical processes and electrical synapses, it doesn't mean I'm a computer. It doesn't mean that the feelings aren't genuine. When you have that, say you feel that feeling of rapture and celebration, when you get into a congregational group and praise Jesus, and hands up in the air and all that, yeah, your feelings are real. Your belief might not be, but your feelings are real. And just because you're feeling them, it still doesn't make your belief real. Okay? And they've actually analyzed why you get that feeling when you're with a large group of people, all jumping up and down, expressing happy thoughts. It's a communal effect. It's actually healthy for you, believe it or not, in many respects. And I don't have all the knowledge to properly explain it. The studies are out there. The psychologists and have done papers on them, on the effects. Just remember, you can get the same high instead of praising Jesus by standing with a group of people, jumping up and down, going, "Yay, Nintendo!"
Yep. Or it could be almost anything. It could be yay, bottle of milk in my refrigerator. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it could be the food didn't spoil overnight. Yay!
Because you
And you
used
still get
foil.
that same rapture feeling.
Yep.
So, but yeah, those wonderful, wonderful self-preservation mechanisms, they do some wonderful things for us, and some not so wonderful things.
It's true. It's true. But in most cases, yes, we just look to the people that we admire
Hmm.
and find the pieces of their personality that we think that we're lacking and try to bolster them and make them better by ourselves being able to do whatever that job is and see if there's a way of doing it better.
And some people
Just
are natural role models just because they do the things that they wish that other people would do for them. Like the story about one young man who was living out of a shack. His high school was his family. He was had no family, um, and so he would work at the library, and he'd be at his school like 12 hours a day, and just because that was the only home he really had, and people looked up to him because he was always helping, he was always sharing, always caring. The things that he wanted, he gave to other people in
mm-hmm.
hopes of receiving it in return. He was taking the step out there on the ledge, hoping that somebody else would be out there saying, hey, listen, it's okay. We're here for you. And he found out that they were. Other people take the step out to that ledge and maybe they don't have such a good response. But you never know until you take that step out there. So if you, as a human being, want good experiences from the people around you, you need to be willing to give good experiences to the people around you as well.
Yep. And again, that's probably where we need to just remember. If you want to be good, find someone who is, in your estimation, and see what you think of what they do and see where it takes you and see if it's something that would make sense for you. There are a lot of different people that we look up to and admire for many, many, many different reasons. Some, again, are just way out there. Some are a lot more down to earth. But before we get out, there was one item that I wanted to make special reference to. On the way back from the Renaissance Festival here in New York, got to talking briefly about the show tonight. And I told my friends of the family, that we were going to be talking about, exactly this topic. And I asked them, do you have anybody that you specifically admire, that you find interesting and worthwhile? And one friend had an answer that I did not expect at all, and really surprised me.
Their child?
No, she
I was
said,
taking a guess.
she said she admires someone that she knows from work, who comes into work day in, day out, every time that they're supposed to be on, and is there. Meanwhile, this person has multiple sclerosis and celiac disease
Ooh.
and Crohn's disease,
Oh boy.
meaning this person under the age of 30 basically is in pain every day and has been for several years every day, and is still going into work every time she's supposed to and is doing the job that she's supposed to. And I thought about that really briefly, and I said, you know what? I never would have come up with that. Somebody who just does the job just does the job day in and day out, and no fanfare, no special acknowledgement, just there I am, ready to go. Let's just go ahead and do. So for those that go and do the job every day, any day, whether you have pain of some kind or other, or an impending surgical moment, or you're just trying to do the right thing. For those of you that keep trying all the time, thank you. And we actually do look up to you. The teachers, nurses, the emergency services, and so many more different categories. For all of you that keep doing the job just because you want to, just because you do. Good job. And congratulations. Hope that you recognize that people recognize you. So we're at the end of our 90 minutes, and we're just going to go ahead and call it right here with our appreciation. Unrenowned Tech, of course, as always. Thank you, man.
Rock on, buddy.
And of course, as always, we thank you all for taking the time to watch. As I've said on many an occasion, I know full well this is not a sexy podcast, not by a long shot, but I'd like to think that we have something worthwhile for you to pay attention to. So thank you. As stands at the moment, our next scheduled show is going to be August 3rd. Do not have a topic idea at the moment, although I'm sure I will come up with something as soon as I can and let everybody know about that. To the best of my recollection, Dallin will not be with us specifically next week. Where everybody was this week, like I said, don't really much know for most of them. Joe is, like I said, out of town dealing with a family situation, and our hearts and thoughts go with you, Joe. Good luck. Meanwhile, we'll be looking forward to seeing you the very next time we get together, because that's part of why we're here. So thanks for hanging out with us. As always, I say my goodnights for all of you, and I say my goodnights for my lady too, because 9 years on, I'm still in love. Matane Fujin, I love you and I miss you. She got great hair. You dream of me. And of course, for all of you, from the entirety of the group, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. Until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.